Hello, everybody.
Oi, What's
Oh,
happening?
hello. I've realised we haven't got any music playing. That's really weird. But hello, everybody. Welcome to our recap, where we are going to be going through episodes 58 to 68 of our main campaign. We will also be speaking a little bit about Orbital Blues, the 4-episode miniseries. We hope to also very quickly touch on the first episode of Monster of the Week, but I'm sure that a better recap of that when we have got much further into it or concluded it will go much better. But I'm sure there's plenty of things that we're going to be chatting about either way. It has felt so incredibly long ago since episode 58. Where Danny was just telling us what we were doing, and we were like, my God, that feels like it was last year. But it's just because we've been having so much fun with all these extra mini-series that we've been doing as well. So that has extended it a little bit. And also the Origins. So all of that we're going to be chatting about. So, yeah, I would say we can roll the intro, because we always love it. And then we can get chatting on discussing it all. See you on the other side.
Dave's rap name.
Yeah, we were just panicking if I'd written the title right there, so that's fair play. I had. Anyway, hello. I am Dave. I usually play Jewel of Shadows in our main campaign of the Planar Detective Agency. I also was. What was I? Jesse in Orbital Blues.
you know what? I really forgot that.
I really was struggling with that. Like, how? What hell? And I also was then the keeper for Monster of the Week.
Yes, and I am Danny, and I play Lex Ordo, the UNT sorcerer for the Planar Detective Agency. I was Gigabyte for Orbital Blues, a cybernetic badass, and then in Monster of the Week, I played a werewolf called Wolfgang. Because I'm really good at coming up with original names.
And then panicked that you knew you were going to have to be German.
Yeah, I was worried I'd have to do a German accent, so I didn't do that.
Wolfgang is hilarious. It's almost
I like to
you
hint
can
about
see
what my character is with the name. Like when I was the mushroom spores druid, and he was called Portobello. I like to give a little clues.
You're leading with it. It's Easter eggs. It's Easter eggs for the viewers. If they're smart enough, they can find them.
I'm like Kevin Feige with my level of genius.
Fuck's sake. So I'm Bodhi. I play Edius Bones Jones as part of the Planar Detective Agency. Usually, I was the game master for Orbital Blues, and I currently play Clade Constantine in our Monster of the Week series. But yeah, I'm glad to join you guys. It's great to be on a recap episode. I haven't done one of these. I did one with both of you like ages ago, but I haven't done one for a while, so it's nice.
Fair warning to all of the viewers, whilst this is a wonderful place to jump in as to where we're at, if you do you haven't had the chance or opportunity to catch up, and this is you find that your best way, find all the previous recaps, watch them, because at least you've only got a couple to just catch up with what we've been doing right from the get-go. However, also note, we will not be doing it exactly in order because we all have scatterbrain, and so we will jump to random facts and to jumping from episode to episode, but there will be a general consensus of trying to get from episode 58 to 68 with all origin stories and other bits in between.
We'll go from fact to conspiracy theory that is in no way related to any form of thing that happened, back to what actually happened, and then Matt will tell us we got all the characters wrong and all the places wrong, because my notes, because he spells stuff stupid and I'll have mispronounced it, and then we'll get told off next week. And then, yeah.
So, Danny, you are the wonderful note taker for us. So, do you want to lead us off with, I think, episode 58 and the general plot that we had there?
No pressure, sprung that on me, Dave. Cheers.
Oh, you're
So,
welcome.
episode 58.
You landed the intro on me, so there, I've got you back.
Instant karma. So episode 58 was called The Cathedral of Sin, and that's when we were right down under the orphanage Paragon Church, which we was finding out more and more was evil as fuck. And we actually started the episode interrogating one of the female priestesses that we had taken hostage, trying to find answers about what was down here, what was the aim of it all, what are we trying to stop, is it just some priests being a bit dickish, or is it like a big greater evil that we're trying to figure out? And that's when she confirmed to us that we were not alone down here. It's not just the priests. We've got some big, bad nasties to sort out, as well as some potential hostages that we'll need to save along the way. And this is the first episode where we actually did find those hostages.
Okay, I was going to ask that one, because yes, that was one of the things that, I mean, we were really struggling with, is like, okay, let's call it what it is. It's D&D. It was a dungeon crawl, but we were trying to work out exactly what we needed to do and where to look at. Matt is an absolute genius and gives us some incredible red herrings, and we are also ones who want to save everybody. So we could have done everything from just leave them, those three kids to transform, and we could have just gone to other places. We didn't, and we attempted and did successfully save them.
Because it was one of the sort of ones where we went into every room and there was something happening. There was somebody trying to summon something. There was a ritual happening. Some kid was transforming into a demon. There was like a golden skull.
It was a busy night for these priests. It was a busy night in this place.
It was a bit like Temple of Doom or some Indiana Jones shit. There was like a skull on a thing that we took off so they couldn't complete a ritual, and there was just loads of puzzles and mysteries and twists, which was I just realised we're supposed to do Orbital Blues first, but we've jumped straight into campaign 2.
Well, it's all right. We'll do 58. We'll do 58 and then we'll circle back. It's all good. We'll do 58 first and then circle back.
It's kind of in the order that we were doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, I think those episodes were interesting for me because that whole time that we did that whole like dungeon crawl, the first time, like that first run through, we went back a second time, folks. The first spoiler. The first run through was really interesting because I think we mixed in a good amount of like classic Player of the Detective Agency fuckery with like some like serious like dealing with some cathartic stuff for Tom and saving those hostages and trying to like work out the space of like this moral gray zone that we were kind of in, where we were. Some of us were struggling with whether we should be doing it. Other of us were doing it for Tom. Other of us were, there's lots of different motivations. So those episodes were interesting for me. I found them a bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah, I think they were quite big character development episodes, mainly for Cavan, because it was his sort of redemption arc, getting over his self-loathing almost. But then it was also for Edgius, an actual moral quandary we've not seen him have before, where he was like, shit, are we just killing people for the sake of killing people? Or are we actually doing this for a reason? And then we obviously talked ourselves into it, obviously.
I think as well, we
did. Yeah,
in a new light as well. Because Dave was like so on board. I hadn't seen Jewel that like motivated to carry out justice as well prior to, like, I felt like Jewel had been the reserved one, always like checking the group, being smart, like being like thoughtful about things. And that was the first time I felt like Dave was just like, we're going balls deep. Like, it's time to go, guys. It's balls to the wall.
Yeah, I mean, I was indeed trying to throw Jewel into the difficult situation they've been sent into, to cover what had happened prior to that. They had been at a ball where it had been very difficult. There was a fight. Then we found that the kid had been killed. Then the group got stabbed by the Serpent's Cloak. So in terms of where Jewel was, like in a really bad emotional state, going, I'm sorry, you're saying that Tom's therefore been, kidnapped by these guys and, was intending to do bad shit. It's like, okay, this ends. And it was that snap. It was that, okay, I'm done. Let's just finish this.
I think for Lex, it was, I need to restore balance inside Cavern because he's got emotional trauma that he needs to resolve. But also, I was like, there's summoning demons from somewhere else and they're going to fuck Union City up. So we need to stop whatever they're doing because it could lead on to wider disruption. Yeah. If they're summoning demons from another plane, Lex was like, we're shutting that shit down.
Can I throw a theory out there just to start us off?
Yes, let's get down the world.
Tinfoil hats, everyone. Come on, here we go.
Theory out is, I love this idea that the more I kind of think about it, that Lex and Aegeus are always kind of on the opposite ends of the spectrum to each other of like how we deal with things and like how we approach stuff and like what our like kind of mannerisms. And like I love that in that moment both you and I, Dave, just were like, even though we had been like, I had been like gung-ho the whole time and you'd been reserved, and then in that moment we just flipped.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like
but it did come up in RP when Jewel actually turned to you and went, okay, hang on a minute, if you're saying that this is, this sounds too much, we do maybe need to rein it in. But then that was when it was like, okay, let's have the let's take the emotion out of it. And then we went, well, okay, in all seriousness then. And it did mean, I have to say, it did mean that Jewel came back round to, okay, we go in there, and if there's anyone who doesn't look totally evil, maybe they're in the wrong place, wrong time, we know how cults work, let them go. So she went in quite reserved to the second time to the room, and was basically like, to this poor priest, oh, we need to, just get out of here. When he turned around and then started attacking, it was like, okay, I gave you one chance and you didn't take it, so you're done.
Yeah.
So there was a modicum of reserve, and that only became because Aegeus was like, guys, this seems a bit bloodthirsty. Otherwise, I probably would have been quite feral with Cavern. I was kind of almost going along with, okay, I think Jules definitely getting that Big Brother vibe from Cavern. So it was getting a bit swept up with what the hell just happened there. After months of being the researcher and the sneak and trying to find all this, and also being really shit in fights, as in trying to deal damage. So it was just kind of like, I'm really, not to Cavern's amount, but angry, and I need to just get this. I not necessarily need to prove myself, but I just need to get this out. And it was that chat with Aegeus, and as you said, that flip of the coin when he went, oh, hang on a minute, if you're saying this is bad.
But in our defence, though, every time we tried to go down a political route and not kill people, they tried to kill us. So they left us no choice, really.
True. It's so fucking true, man.
No, but the point is, that's why the Planar Detective Agency, I think, wants to remember that, is we always give them the chance. Because then there's no argument, and we don't realise that we end up just bloodthirsty the whole time.
Do you know what? It's one of the reasons also why I love, and I won't spoil too much, but where we've ended up in these last episode of like the reach that we're having at this point, or will have, is something that I think is awesome. I think the fact that, across NOF, what I'm loving the idea of is like in epilogues, like, or even in the next like campaign when we get down the road with new characters, possibly new timeline, to see what effect like what we're starting here has then like rippled out across the place, because
we are attempting to sow seeds of the Planar Detective Agency, have bases, have feelers out, have contacts. We are attempting from scratch to become a good version of the Serpent's Cloak. We also know that there's the Other Order. I'll look that up as we're chatting. But but it could be that we are basically the public version of that. So we know we're not going to be as knowledgeable as them, but we're going to be that detective agency that we end up with branches where you can come to with you've lost your cat or actually there's been a murder, and we help in both ways. That's, I think, what we're going to do.
Ancient and Silent Order of Cytheris.
That's the one.
Which sounds like something you need antibiotics for. Cytheris.
Cytheris. Yeah.
I think Mozart died of it anyway. He made him deaf.
So, yeah.
But you're right. We could end up being like an MI5 type situation, but we still do menial stuff like, is your husband having an affair? All the way up to world-changing domination
that's what I'm
plots
saying.
that we're foiling.
Like, you've got your Sacred Order of Siserath, which are the MI6, MI5 of, some people know about them, but not many, and actually they hold a lot. They are the other side of the coin to the Serpent's Cloak, where some people know about them, but they know everything. We're not trying to do that. We are trying to be a detective agency, but we're going to franchise it. My God, we are.
Do you know what? I would love to play a character in Campaign 3 that is a failed recruit for the Planar Detective Agency who tried to get in a couple hundred years time and just was not allowed in, or failed the the police exam kind of vibes, Also, I would love if the Planar Detective Agency became corrupt down the line. That would be hilarious.
Well, I know.
Can we play a splinter organisation of the Planet in Campaign 3 that we're like how the Conclave was of the Crystalline Isle Wizards? Yeah. We're insurgent incel type, not incel. What's the word I'm looking for? Sleeper cell inside the Planet Detective Agency.
Oh, that's
not
a clip.
That's
a fucking clip. That's a fucking clip.
Bloody hell.
Beautiful.
But also, in Campaign 3, or next time, let's play characters that don't care about NPCs and everyone else, and then we won't get sidetracked.
Tell you what, yeah, playing a... almost playing our Orbital Blues characters, or to a degree, hopefully you know what I mean there, but in D&D, where it is, we very much are bad guys with good hearts, and that's the closest we get, and that's it, where it literally will be every time it's cool, we will buy something from the shop only if we can steal something from the shop as well. Just the whole time we're all like that.
I'm about it, dude. I'm about it.
Because at the moment we're very mixed, but we're on the good side.
We're chaotic good. All of us are.
We are chaotic good, very much so. Yeah.
Do you guys have an alignment selected for your character? I don't think I ever chose an alignment.
I do, but I don't use it enough. As in, it helps me build my character.
Lawful neutral, I think, which is he follows the rules of order, but that doesn't fall on the side of good and evil. That's just whatever the order is. But actually, he's swayed more to being emotionally led as he's spent time with you guys and embraced the chaos in his character, which we'll come on to in a bit when we talk about origin stories. So did you want to carry on talking about Campaign 2, or did you want to switch to Orbital Blues before Bodhi has to leave?
I'm happy to do whatever.
Let's move on to that one. I'm just going to leave you two chatting about Orbital Blues for a few minutes, and I will be back.
Hell yeah! I'll kind
That's
of dive
code for
into
Dave
that.
needs a poo internet.
It really isn't, but thank you. That is now another clip.
You are welcome.
So to dive into Orbital Blues stuff, you guys graciously allowed me to take the reins for a couple of episodes, which I super appreciated and felt the responsibility of telling a super sick story for. And I think one of my favorite things about it all was us planning it at the beginning and thinking a little bit about what we wanted to do and how we wanted to kind of go about it. And, for everyone listening, we went into the Orbital Blues thing with the idea that it was going to be a smuggling mission. And it was that you guys were smuggling cybernetics was what we had talked about pre fucking stream, but we said we wanted there to be a twist. That was kind of one of the final things was we wanted there to be some sort of twist, as I remember it. And so I came up with the whole transporting Neo idea very early on, actually, and I planned to not reveal it to you guys until like episode 3, actually. But you guys like discovered him in episode 2, or at the end of episode 1, I think it was. You discovered him with Matt's an insanely high observation roll, or one of you rolled insanely high for observation, so I just couldn't not give it to you guys. But yeah, episode 1 we started in the diner where you guys were already as a crew, going in to basically do this trade of some gear that you'd stolen. And that episode I called, well, that went to plan. And essentially it was these guys going in and trading some gear that they'd stolen for some money, and shit did not go to plan, as per. And after a bit of a shootout, the guys managed to gather both the money and the gear and bounce, basically. What was your thoughts on all of that, Danny? It's your first time playing a new system, first time playing a new character out of, like, we've been in campaign 2 for like 50x episodes. You know, what was that like for you, dude?
What I liked, because it was the first time I'd also not played anything other than D&D, really, so it was my first time doing anything different. And obviously I was shitting myself to start off with, but what I quickly realised is, in terms of what you want to do character-wise, it's pretty much anything goes. There's less rules that you're bound by and what your character can do. It's just 2d6. So what I liked was the freedom to do random shit that I thought of in my head. But what I liked is some of the mechanics where, because I had cybernetics, if I wanted to do something crazy with them, there was that instant karma back where it had to roll, and obviously I got affected by the cybernetics. Either way, insanity or insanity. So I quite like the mechanics of it, and the free reign it sort of gave me, I suppose, because although it's a new system to learn, it's quite simple to learn, albeit there is probably nuances and levels of detail we didn't go into. But in terms of picking it up for like a mini series, it was quite simple to pick up.
Totally, and I think my goal is for all future like short arcs that I do for Malt and Magic, I intend to use systems that are similar in terms of simplicity and things like that, because I think, you know, it was, dude, you're a chaos monster at best of times, and
Thank you.
You bring like this amazing level of creativity as well as like humor with every character that you play. And I think, you know, for me, dude, watching you like really like outwardly like super flex your stuff and be super creative and like really just, like you said, realize that you're almost like looking for like where the boundary is and realizing that there's less boundary, or like there's, whether it's less boundaries or the boundaries are further away and you just had more space because of how the system was. And whatnot, was awesome to fucking see. And I think credit to Dave as well, who sadly can't be with us right now. Dave, I think I felt like he, oh, Dave. I really felt like his character as Jesse like just had levels to it that I felt like, though I've seen Jules have like a lot going on, I felt like his character Jesse just was so different, so interesting, and so completely different from what I had seen him play up until that point, that it really blew me away. From like almost episode 1, I was like, oh god damn, Dave. I was like, whoa, you're really going for it.
Yeah, you're right though, because he was a simple man, which could have led to him being a simple character, but he wasn't actually a simple character in terms of his, I suppose, emotional depth.
I agree.
That makes sense.
I think it's almost like that himbo trait in a weird way. Do you know what I mean? It's that like that being a gorgeous, beautiful, beefy person who has a soft heart but can be mean as fuck. It's very similar to like the character that Travis Willingham plays in Critical Role, Grog, in the first series. He's like the classic barbarian that is like super dumb, but like super lovable, super wholesome, and like vicious in a fight. And I think Dave played it in a way that I was really, really, oh my God, he lives. We thought we'd lost you to the ether.
We said your name 3 times and you appeared like Beetlejuice.
Just trying to look after my cat. She's hobbling around, so I need to go and check on her.
I was actually just singing your praises, dude, about your portrayal of Jesse and your portrayal of the himbo trait, but doing it in a way that was very different and very unique than many I had seen before you.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. I mean, it's one of those ones that I think people may often forget, and this is what I was trying to portray, and I have seen it before. I'm not going to, this is very much not the first time it's happened. Someone who is of lower intelligence still has the same emotional bandwidth, potentially, as someone else. There are other people who have less emotional bandwidth. So you then have someone who is low intelligence, high emotional bandwidth, and there's therefore sometimes come out with these absolute corkers that you don't really know where the hell they came from, and at other times they're just here for the ride. And that's exactly what I was trying to play with Jesse. Is he doesn't understand the tact. Military tactics, yes, but the tactics of life, absolutely not. But he also gets that opportunity to not exactly express himself very well, but also see when someone else is not okay. And that was basically how I was playing. Is just someone who didn't overthink stuff too much. That's what he was.
We all take inspiration for our characters from stuff, though. Like with Lex,
totally.
I had Spock as an entry level. And I've got more away from that now as RP-wise. I've got towards more chaos in my character and emotion. But it started off as Spock. And for Gigabyte, for Orbital Blues in my head, I was thinking a character from a Guy Ritchie film.
Yeah.
Totally, dude. I think that's what makes Matt a great GM. I think it's what gives me a lot of what I do. And I think Dave was doing it during the Monster of the Week thing is like... a good GM is only as good as the references that they can wield to their power, and be able to use tropes that have been seen but put twists on them and, come up with new things that are then, mixtures of ideas that, have already pre-existed and things like that. And I think it's super, it's to the power, actually. I think that's what makes it fucking amazing. And I think, as I said, like Dave, I was blown away with you in Orbital Blues, dude. I was truly like, I saw your RP in a wildly new light that I think I had not prior
especially
to that.
in your interactions with Tom's character.
Yep.
But also with Neo.
Yeah.
As you
Agreed.
kind of had a sort of a Big Brother vibe with him as well. Because to me, you were just a lumphead who shot people from a distance, and then I see you actually become... Oh, he's the protector. He's this. He's that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why actually when you realise that those two seem on face value to be very different, like you've just said, you are actually able to encompass it in just saying it's the protector. So he's actually protective of people's emotions, but also of people, and that's why he has a massive sod-off gun. Because if you're the person he's not protecting, you're in trouble. But yeah, so and that's why I thought it was also quite incredible that the way it landed with Jesse is certainly later on in the series was like, okay, yeah, that happened.
That's what I liked when you introduced Neo as the protagonist really for the whole story. We just thought we were smuggling goods. What it did, it led to different developments in all of the characters. Like, he admired my character for a start, and he thought he was learning from me, and I'd never been admired before, so I was loving that. Isaac, Tom's character, was essentially American Psycho, and he turned into somebody who learned about love and come to face with that because of Neo. You had emotional intelligence, but we didn't know you did until Neo was on the scene.
Yeah.
And then with Matt's character, we all had a soft spot for him, and it helped with the storytelling as well.
You're absolutely right, because also, Jesse, if you remember, actually never really came. Well, he came into the shop at the start where Neo was, but never came down to see Neo. He literally was just like, "You sort the shit out, and I'm just going to wait and get ready." Never even particularly knew about Neo until a lot later than you guys, anyway. And yeah, it really just started because again that's where he sat. So when they then start getting this attachment and realizing that this is a serious mission, that's when it did start to grow on him. And yeah, as you say, the connection we all had with Matt's character, I thought was great. He really was that sort of grumpy lone wolf that was begrudgingly working with a team, but then again, probably to a similar degree, was like not that happy working with this team. But then afterwards was like, I'd die for you. So we all had a very that character arc, which I thought was amazing.
I thought Matt's character, what was interesting is his relationship to Neo felt like, at least from my perspective, a lot more like a role model, where Tom felt like almost like the opposite. Tom was like the don't do what I do, Matt was the like do what I do. Yeah. And it felt like they played both ends of that spectrum really nicely around him. Because of that, it meant that Neo like almost was getting, in a weird way, it felt like you guys were almost like, big brother and like person you look up to. And then it felt like Matt and Tom were almost like mum and dad, like divorced parents on like either end of the spectrum, providing that kind of, contradicting advice in an interesting way. And I think I wanted to ask you guys because, I knew that, I was going to lace this whole thing in, and I was going to lace not only that Neo was, because originally I had planned for the Scars to know more about Neo and for them to be like looking for him. But then as it kind of played out, and I realized after, I did a little scene with Danny and Maria in one of the episodes and things like that, I realized it just didn't link as nice as I wanted it to. How did you guys feel when that reveal kind of came? Like, what was your guys' thoughts when, it went from being this whole thing of like, episode 1, it's like, cool, go meet Laz, find out what he's smuggling. And episode 2 is then like, holy shit, we're smuggling an AI that could be either a super weapon or a like, essentially, a super weapon in some ways, is how I presented it originally to you guys.
I think for Jesse, he skipped over the super weapon very quickly and realised that we were not smuggling a crate of random shit that we're going to get paid for. I can't speak for every other character, but I think for Jesse, he utterly forgot about the money. And honestly was doing it because it was right.
What started off is we requested more money, and then for Gigabyte on top of that, it was, what technology can I steal from this thing, this artificial intelligence? Like, I asked for the blueprints for his Cortex so I could try and give myself an AI brain or whatever, but then he stopped becoming a thing and he became a person, and then we were all actually just wanted to finish the mission for him, and the money, like you say, became not the driver for it anymore.
Yeah, and basically just making sure that the Scars didn't get anywhere near it was like, that is the ultimate goal.
I think Matt's character was more about the money for longer, but then still eventually came round to, we just need to get this kid to his mum.
I agree. Yeah.
But I did really like the mechanics of the combat and the chase scene in the vehicles and everything, and how that all works together, and it's not necessarily turn-based and just crazy shit all happens at once and you can just say, can this happen? I like the vehicle chase bit. That was my favourite.
That did work very well, and I was actually going to say that. I mean, throughout the scope of this is from talking from both Danny and my perspective. The way that we started, knowing nothing, started playing D&D. The way we started playing D&D was from from fight to fight in a very loose storyline. The occasion, like the odd dungeon crawl, and basically we played almost no RP. And then we started going more heavily RP, and it mixed. Honestly, I think we're the other side of the coin now, where we play so much RP, we remember that we need to have a fight every now and then. But I love it, and I think that's great. So we then moved to Orbital Blues, where it is incredibly heavily RP based. It is very light. Danny, you were talking about the fact that, with it just being a 2d6 system, it's so chill in that respect. It's very simple. You either, it's a win or lose scenario when you roll, but just super simple to do that one, and fluid in the fact that you, like Danny just said, you can choose. Or not choose. You can say, "Can this happen?" and it can be then the choice whether it does. Really did mean that you get to cut your teeth in RPing and spreading your wings and going, "I've got an idea. Let's see what happens." Because it may not. It's fine.
Totally. I think, yeah, and like across the board, I think the system is fantastic. Anyone who hasn't played Orbital Blues, if you want to be a depressed space bounty hunter, that's the system for you, 100%. And shout out to Soul Muppet Publishing, the fantastic company that made that system, that are based out of the UK, I believe, and are fantastic folks. But yeah, dude, the vehicle chase was super interesting. I got like so into the crunch that I forgot about like. I got into the crunch and like what was actually happening between the vehicles that I forgot to like describe terrains and like the landscape that we were covering for like maybe like 3 rounds. I rewatched it the other day and was just like, God, like what happened in the middle there. But I think what was really nice was, like you said, there was stuff that was like, because it's a pass or fail system, like you guys opening the door and it like not closing all the way once it was damaged. Like certain parts of it meant that you guys were dealing with adversity in ways that it felt a lot more natural than I have in other systems, I think, as well. Like it feels really natural that the adversity is almost put on by decisions that are made.
The last thing you want with a rule set is someone has a great idea and then goes, "Oh, I want to do this," and you go, "You can't do that because you're not going to quite get to the button." You're like, "Oh, come on."
Yeah.
I love, therefore, the fact that it was like, yeah, you do, and that's cool. It's basically running with the rule of cool in every possible moment. And by the way, buddy, I mean, I maybe it's just my imagination. I never once thought that I was lacking the information to where we were or what we were doing. I always had that imagination of where we were, and so on and so forth. So again, with the theatre of the mind that D&D and all these other ones are based on. Hopefully that wasn't an issue to anyone, but I do mirror that in the fact that I know that it took me a second to get into being the keeper for Monster of the Week and going, I need to describe it because it looks great in my head, but you don't know that.
I agree, and Matt, thank you for that very kind comment as you lurk in the chat. Okay.
You did indeed kick ass as GM because I loved it. Obviously what Matt's saying is that he loved it too, and yeah, absolutely killed it.
I have a final kind of question. So for everyone, by the way, they met this guy. Basically, Matt was connected with this guy. He gave them a job to transport this thing. It turned out that this thing was a child that was an AI. They, along transporting it, had to cross this super heavy border control situation that led to this like chase across the desert. And this is all set on Mars as well. I think I forgot to mention that at the beginning. And yeah, after that, they ended up in a big city where they spent some time at a bar before heading to the place where they needed to basically take this child to meet his mother. And you guys got to the sky docks pretty easily, and then we had our last episode, which was just wild. Easily one of the most wild sessions of any TTRPG I've ever played in terms of chaos happening, a crazy all-out like gunfight with, ships shooting at people shooting at people with lightsabers fucking running around. It was all kinds of craziness, and it wasn't the first time I've killed players, but it was the first time I've killed that many players in a session, and I think.
But we were kamikazing ourselves as well.
We were.
This is true. This is true. It was a joint venture. You guys.
It would be a very interesting thing. Yes. I doubt we would do this, but it'd be a very interesting thought experiment to basically rerun episode 4, knowing what we know, and going, but we're trying to keep him alive this time and see where it leads us. Because honestly, and this is the fun thing, right? Obviously, Bodhi, I know, and again, every like I want to say manual because I can't think of the word. Every guide will tell you that as the GM, you want your party to succeed and win. But what's interesting is that at times you can actually go, but that's actually not realistic. You've done this many wrong things. You've been that stupid. You have just walked away. There's many options, right? So it'd be interesting to see whether all of us keeping ourselves alive actually was to the detriment of the end goal. Us all trying to stay alive meant that actually we ended up surrounded and just no way out, and that was it, done, and we had no opportunity. Whereas the kamikazeing and the swan song, I mean, also swan song as an idea is just phenomenal, and having the music behind it just to absolutely.
We all wanted to do it because it was a mechanism in the thing we hadn't done yet, which is literally you're going to kamikaze it, and you get to get away with even cooler shit because you just succeed on anything you want to do.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel about those kinds of those last bits, those last moments as, you know, your characters, as you've played this whole arc, you've brought this kid, and I know, like, you know, we all were feeling a type of way at the end of that episode, and you know, trying to get this thing done. You know, I'm, you know, trying to, like, as Dave said, I want you guys to succeed as much as possible, but doing the realistic thing as well. How did you guys feel about that kind of ending? How did you feel about the kind of, first of all, I guess the kamikazes, the big, like, end fight with Matt and that scene, as well as then also that kind of epilogue then with Dave actually being the only person who did survive along with Neo in the end of it all.
What I liked is Matt got to have the fight with his arch nemesis.
Yep.
So there was that in there. Everybody seemed, even though it was kamikaze, I feel like everybody got closure. So Matt had the fight with his arch nemesis and put that to bed. Jesse was actually probably the right one to survive because actually he's the protector. So him being with Neo made sense. He's actually probably the best role model of the lot, just because he's got the biggest heart. The fact that Isaac, who was all about himself, sacrificed himself or somebody else.
Yeah.
But the fact that I was sacrificing myself, and then Isaac was like, "You're not doing it by yourself. We're going down together." And then he joined me in crashing the airship into the fucking hangar to take out loads of SCAR's agents. I feel like the ending was the right ending because our characters all got the closure, and actually it was the right development to end it. If that made sense.
Here's the other thing then, along with that, is it is the perfect mechanic for the GM to allow a player to go, peace out, to be like, I don't, you know, we can in D&D be like, we're going to do some stupid shit, and the DM may be like, oh fuck, I'm going to have to try and figure out a stupid way to save them here. But because we go, I swan song, right, you know, at the end of this, so you give them the opportunity to, regardless, do some badass shit. It is that I'm giving you permission to do that badass shit. I'm going to help you even describe it. You know it comes at a cost, and that is you do not play this character anymore. So it's a wonderful mechanic that did mean that we got that closure. You got that slow-mo scene. You got the times when they were having this. And again, we were talking before stream how sometimes we play like TV series-esque styles and sometimes movie styles. This was very movie style, where it was so. It was the Fast and the Furious runway was 70 miles long. You were chatting for a minute in this 4-second segment, but nobody cared because it was phenomenal, and everything worked about it because you're in the moment, seeing someone's view of what's happening.
Dude, I agree with that. I think from my end, like Danny said, there was a lot of closure, which was really nice. I think, like, it felt super right to have, you know, Dave stay alive. I agree with you, Danny. And I think, you know, and that's the beautiful thing about TTRPGs, guys, is like, I can tell you, like, I'll read you my notes for that episode, going into that episode, what I had written down, which was, make them work out a way into the terminal to the dock. Give them a chance to meet Maria and make it look like it all had gone wrong. Then kick off the ambush. 7 goons, Magnus, Void Marauder ship, 2 groups of scars. 3 outcome possibilities, and you guys you were not in these 3 outcomes. Because Maria dies, the lads keep Neo and have to escape with him. Maria and Neo die, and they recover the chip from his brain and escape with the chip. Magnus gets the kid, kills Maria, and escapes. And then I said the final note was Magnus will always retreat rather than be killed if possible. And that's it. And so the beauty that we managed to find all those closures that, like, through our joint storytelling, that you guys fucking found those beautiful moments, like Tom, like you said, him becoming about more than himself. I think, dude, it's a testament to our incredible storytelling. Like, I think the fact that I had so little means you guys are so much better as players than I think you guys think you are. Like, the plot that we managed to weave there, I don't know how we did it, but it was spectacular. And I think, we set it up to possibly have a sequel team of new people, along with Neo. Like, one of us could play Neo along with, other, characters or whatever. So we have a sequel possibility. I felt really great about the ending. And a final question I wanted to ask you guys, just while I've been thinking about all of this, is what do you think the Swan Song mechanic would work in a long-form campaign like Campaign 2? So, like, I think, don't get me wrong, like, us somewhere, like, at a half point or, like, an end point, like, doing that would work. But it feels like because Matt has woven so much plot around, for example, Edgius has Klein, and it's all based around that. Lex's portal thing is, like, a huge part of it. Jules' shadow stuff is, all, like, we all have such heavy ties that killing one of us off would, or, like, us selectively being like, Edgius dies, does, like, not in some ways hurt the plot in any way, shape, or form, but, like, the link to some of the, like leading figure at the moment, I think would be a little bit more tenuous. I want to hear your guys' thoughts, whether you think that mechanic would work in our long form stuff.
I think that it would. I was going to say it should only work near the end of arcs. Obviously many arcs in campaigns. However, I'm actually going to roll that back and actually say no. It would be far more impactful for it to happen when none of us were expecting it. When we're in a fight, and it could be a very, very normal fight, as in nothing to do with the main plot. And one of us goes down. All right. And in a way, we get to do the swan song where it's one of us is, we get to, and like we said, these are mashing two systems together. So let's just imagine it in our heads. And we go, right, there's an ability where you can do that. And we go, right, I'm swan songing because I am not, I've hit 0 HP or whatever. However, I'm going to click my swan song. I'm therefore choosing that none of you are ever going to get me back up, but I am going to spit blood out on the floor and I'm going to go back up at it. It's basically giving us that once and only once opportunity that a barbarian gets, which is whatever that one's called, where it's you're still up after you hit, whatever that is. Whatever it is you get your one chance to use it, where you get up and you just you have to roll. I don't know. You have to roll above a 10 or something. I don't know, but you know what I mean. You do that. And it means that you go up and you just rip the crap out of the main baddie that's in front of you and win the fight. It's your one option. You get to then lie on the floor, coughing out blood, but saying your goodbyes to the party or something. Imagine, if you will, either that's going to drive you further onto the main mission, depending on if it's a main mission one, or it's going to completely, and in a good way, spin you off and go, right, this main campaign shit is going on. However, this was a group of bandits. We're now going to find the rest of the bandits and we're going to rip them to shreds. And we're going to completely dismantle this side, and it's going to have impacts on the world. This because one person died, and maybe along the way you're then going to find that new character that the person was playing. So, actually, I think it would be a very interesting opportunity to be able to do that. I don't know whether we'd want to, because honestly, we are so integral and love our character so much that it would have to be a very difficult decision of us going, guys, we're not. This is a TPK if one of us doesn't choose to swan song. That's the other interesting thing there. Actually, it's two things happen. One of us goes, I don't really like my character, therefore I'm going to swan song and just try another one. So that's great, and because also we could do that now of not necessarily swan song, but I can go. Jewel gets a letter from my parents, needs to come home, and she just goes. And obviously, with some chat, with some chinwag, and goes, I'm really sorry, guys, I'll see you in a couple of months, hope you do well, blah, blah, blah. But could still do that. However, I think it is more fun and more interesting if it was actually, one, that, or two, shit, guys, we fucked up. The dice haven't been in our favour, and it's going to lose us one of our characters that we all love, not just the person who plays them. So it is interesting.
I think
I agree.
In a system where you've got healers and revivers and necromancers and stuff, it's less useful for main characters, albeit we don't have a hit in the group. But what I think it could be good for is like the NPCs, like we've got Callum and Takami, if they was to come clutch and sacrifice themselves for the group, or as you've got the sidekick mechanic, you could make your sidekick swan song to save the group. If you know what I mean, or the sidekick sacrifices themselves to save you, you could do it that way.
But again, so a couple of things on that one, Danny. You can choose not to bring your character back. You can say that no matter what, your character won't come back. So you get the choice to say that one. It can also be done on the rolls where you don't roll well enough in the revive. Or is that resurrection? I don't know whether
it could be a mechanic where the swan song is done to you rather than it's being a choice of yours.
That too. Now, we will also point out for anyone who's watching this, this has to only ever be implemented in a group where you've one, all agreed it, and two, all know each other very well to know that you can come to the end of the session and someone is not furious that your character's now dead. That's why I'm saying that, similar to the swan song of Orbital Blues, has to be the character's choice. The player's choice. So I don't know kind of what you were saying there, Danny. I don't think it can be done to you. I think you have to choose that your character's going to do it. Now, it's emotional for the rest of the party, but that's why sometimes I almost feel like this is better, because otherwise I'm going to go, oh, shit, I hit not HP. I fucking hope one of you get me up because I love this character. Whereas in the same breath, I would almost be like, this is going to be phenomenal because I love this character that I'm going to swan song them.
It'd be interesting to create a mechanic, and Matt, I hope you're listening, where we forego our death saves. And it's almost like you auto-fail all 3 death saves. So it's like, essentially just like you, no matter what, you're going down at the end of it. So use the swan song, but make it in the D&D terms of you just fail your death saves. You electively choose to fail your death saves. Give yourself like a D4 rounds to stay on your feet and do something like that. And then, but in that time, all your scores go up to 20. Your HP, whatever. It's like you don't take any damage and you get max everything for like 4 rounds or D4 rounds. And then fucking you die at the end, and it's almost like basically the damage that was done is like you can't mend a heart that exploded, a brain that scrambled, bones that like shattered from like overdoing, like almost it would have to be the consequences could like even a wish spell wouldn't be able to like bring you back kind of consequences. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally love it, Bodhi, because I've often said that I wish I could find a way of being able to describe that a normal fight with your HP honestly should be denting in armor or cutting of leather armor and bruises, because and maybe even going so far as like fractures and broken bones, because honestly I feel like getting down to your single digit HPs and possibly even that should be consider a boxer getting knocked to the floor in a fight. I think that should be you've hit 0 HP. You get back up if you save, and you're as good as normal to a degree. You've been battered around a bit, but your leg gets broken. I don't see why you're getting back up. Do you know what I mean? So when we're talking about getting stabbed through and then saying, and you then just get back up. Now, obviously, we're saying that because it's magic and it's all that lot, but I kind of like the idea of your HP is actually a gauge of how many more hits you can take, and then then that last one that takes you to 0 HP is a big cut to the gut, or is a slam to the head that fractures your skull. These are the things where it's like you getting back up is hard, is very hard. And
we all know the most unrealistic thing about D&D is everybody gets 8 hours sleep and feels better the next day. That never happens.
Exactly. So, honestly, obviously, this is. I mean, we're so sidetracking. We're meant to be recapping. We're chin wagging. I love it. We're here for it. But to round this off, we're obviously in a rule set that has done its best to just make it so that it's easy enough to that you just these are the. But I do like these additions to make it and the point is we all know, and we're all saying it right now. These are not polished. These are not great, and there's big flaws. But it's interesting to me how we could play it very differently, and why also you could simply play however much magic, as you just said there, Bodhi. That magic could heal a fracture, could heal that, but anything that kills you, that we now would go, you cannot recover from, even with the best medicine in our modern world, magic therefore can't do either, right? And we just simply say that, as you say, if a big bad, it does the crit of punching your chest out, grabbing your heart and pulling it out, you are not getting back up. There is no revivify after that.
Yeah. You can't spawn a heart in someone. And it's something that I try and do a little bit, but I think we could all maybe do more as players. Is like when Matt, like, there's been a couple moments, like I think it was when I did the old hand sword cannon and I pulled my arm off and then fired spells at me and shot the thing at the thing.
Yeah.
I think having moments where, like, in my head, because like you said, Dave, I think about it martial arts wise. If you're in a fight and someone like clips you really hard, you don't just stay within a 5-foot range of them. Like, that's not how that, like, you fall backwards and you're like, what the fuck? You hit prone, you take a knee, and I like the idea of, like, maybe that's on us actually when we're RPing, is like when Matt hits us being like, yo, actually, Matt, can I start in like almost knee down, like prone? Can I have to spend a quarter of my movement to get back up? Then like, or like, even just like things like, again, like about always moving around something, like don't stand in the place, because in combat you would be circling, you'd be moving and doing footwork, and like even swords.
Do you know what? That would be really interesting. That would be very interesting, actually. It's one of the mechanics that Jewel has is the steady aim. Danny, you had it last campaign. Steady aim, we know, is a disadvantage. You're staying out in the open. You can't move, and you can't move for the rest of your turn. So therefore, you are stuck. You are vulnerable. That is the whole point of it. What I find interesting with what you just said there, Bodhi, is maybe you have advantage against you if you don't move. Because, like you just said, even if it is just literally moving one square around your enemy, if you don't, you get disadvantage because you stayed there. You're a sitting duck in the literal term.
Dude, I fucking love that.
I think that's really cool.
Let's not give Matt too many ideas, right?
But this works the same. Yes. And okay, so big disclaimer: there's enough rules in D&D for everyone to remember, and we also have to remember that Matt is also doing it for 20 times as many people as we are. So all of this, while I'm just saying that it works great for us, we also need to know that it works the other way around. He also needs to keep them moving, and it's extras of him. So the minimum we keep it, the better. And why we probably won't be adding these on. But they're all fun ideas that I think would be interesting. So one of the things also, I think plot armor is what I'm trying to give the guys in Monster of the Week as well. It's one of those things where it explains in a way that a lot of people will understand why you guys, us, are miraculously okay in us getting slashed and hit in the armor, whereas what we're doing is actually stabbing and killing our enemies, and that's why it can be 2 rule sets, if that makes sense. But to a degree also not, because like we said, you get down to 0 HP, no matter who you are, it's your killing blow. That's why I think it's interesting. Anyway,
maybe we need to just reduce the death saves to 1 death save, because then you know, that's some real shit, dude. That would be kind of wild, you know.
That'd be good, 'cause if it was a character I loved, I'd be absolutely gutted.
We again have also talked about the fact that if you come back up now, obviously we said we'd only implement this if we were abusing the get down to zero, you know, get down to unconscious and heal someone. But I still think that it's good if you come back, you have a level of exhaustion. So if you're just pump.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because again, like I just said, at minimum, because why the hell are you getting back up and you're not dizzy?
Yeah, dude, I 100% agree with that. But anyway, to round out the Orbital Blue stuff, sick fucking thing. It's 4 episodes, guys. Go consume it if you haven't. These guys were absolutely on fire. It was one of my favorite things to GM so far in my life, and I look forward to bringing you guys more stuff in the future. I'm looking at some interesting, possibly multiple system story arcs in the near future as well, where we cross multiple systems across one arc and things like that as well. So I look forward to what I'm going to be running for you guys next.
Yeah, it's going to be good fun. Good fun indeed.
Should we have a quick
campaign?
Quick wee break, and then we'll dive back into campaign 2.
We'll dive back into campaign 2 with Origins and episodes.
Cathedral of Sin.
Absolutely.
Yep, round out the Cathedral of Sin. Then it'll be our origin stories, and then pretty much the aftermath of Cathedral of Sin. And then we're done, aren't we?
We are indeed. Yeah. So we'll see you all guys soon. We'll have a short break and see you back when we're chatting about all of that lot. Hello. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back.
Hello.
Before we kick back into campaign 2, we just thought we would have a chat about, for some people who are interested, what it is kind of like from a variety of different perspectives. It obviously would be amazing to get Matt's perspective on this, and I'm sure we will another time, but what it's like to DM, and obviously we've only done mini-series, but we can chat about it. And the different aspects, because for anyone who is interested, and as I say, hopefully they're going to get some insight from, you know, a first-time DMer from myself. Only ever done 1 episode, and I didn't even do D&D. So we learned I learned, and so did the other guys, a whole new system from scratch just to do it. Nothing like throwing myself into the deep end. However, I do feel it was a fairly light one compared to D&D. Boat, go on. You go with, like, what does it feel like? What's your how would you set up for a session? Do you railroad? Do you not? Do you give pointers? Have you got everything scripted? What happens?
So so prep for me is what I like to do is I like to have arcs in my head. I like to have the arc that I want to have happen, and I have like an idea of what I want an arc to be. Then basically what I do is for you guys, so the things that I built before us playing I built the intro to the session, so I always write a little intro of what I'm going to say into the session. I then work out the locations of where everything's going to happen, so I have, you know, Cinco City, Kensington, Trenton, Duke, Marbellico, Jamenta, if you had gone there, and the Void Corp Quarry were all places that you guys could visit, as well as the block. And I had all of those in my head and had those kind of worked out, what they look like, kind of what their vibe is. Then I write down for you guys what your characters are, what your backstory is, what are important NPCs for you guys are, that kind of thing. And then from there, basically just any smaller things like items, vehicles, NPCs, a little bit of history about the setting, because we're doing a new setting. And then like session plan, which, as I read to you, is very little. I at this point in my GMing career much prefer the improvised route when it comes to it. So I know everything that I want to have happen, and I know kind of like the whole space, the sandbox, but I don't have as much insight on what I actually want to have happen session to session. And then my thought is, Dave, like, dude, I've been GMing for like coming up to 4 or 5 years now, and I feel very comfortable in the space. It's where I feel a lot of happiness when I'm in the space. I get like flow state kind of vibes when I'm there, but also I push my brain capacity to, like, because I don't do as much prep as other people, I really do just have to push myself mentally throughout a session So you can ask Tom, who has seen me GM a lot, or my partner who has to deal with me. I get like the worst GM hangovers. Like the next day, I'm like a little vegetable. Like I very much like don't want to get out of bed. I'm like tired and fatigued, and like I when I then go and do writing for Homie and the Dude, it's nowhere near as good as if I have had a good night's sleep and not GM'd the night before. So it's I put a lot into it, which I think comes out as a hangover like the next day.
Yeah.
So that's kind of for me how I feel about it. And learning new systems is always stressful, but I think at this point I love working with new players. That's one of my favorite things, and I love working with new systems because I feel like when everyone's on a new system, we're all on a level playing field, and it means that you guys are less worried about me knowing all the tricks to like mess with you guys, and it feels like we all are like kind of learning together, which I think actually then works towards that collaborative storytelling kind of stuff as well in the long run. But that's kind of me. What about you, Dave? Because it was your first time recently.
I'm going to try and cover some of the things that you were just saying there. So yeah, I think playing all loosey-goosey with the rules is sometimes good fun. As we were just talking about before the break, we've already got to the point of knowing enough of D&D, because I don't want to say that we know it all. We don't, and we won't. But we know enough and of the regular things we do where we know we now want to start changing it. Matt was homebrewing stuff in campaign 1, and we have been heavily changing stuff in campaign 2. So I think we're definitely in that rule of we want to make it ours. So when it then came around to me DMing, I was like, I would love to do a supernatural inspired one. I was going to start doing it in D&D, but I was going to do it very much with, like I said before, you've got plot armor. So it was going to be very easy. I was going to let you roll with advantage. I was going to have all these things. I was going to have them very low health, and I was going to try and run it in a D&D style. When we then looked into it and went, oh, okay, there's another rule set out there that is basically built on exactly. It sounds like someone with the ability to sit down and write a manual and a guide has done it exactly how I would. So I was like, this isn't phenomenal. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. We're going to go with this. Phenomenal. I think it's absolutely amazing. Evil Heart Productions, just phenomenal. Well done, guys. Yeah, I think the information that I got from Matt, is to give a guideline and to allow. So I very heavily had episode 1 in my head how it was going to go. In my head. Now, I will very clearly say, in my head I had the way it was going to go because I needed to make sure that I had a plan. I then wrote down said plan. I then thought, you guys are going to completely take it off the rails, and that's absolutely fine. Now, that is one very important thing for any DM is 1, expect that, and 2, be okay with that. Because actually, as from a player point of view, I don't actually want to get railroaded. If we're going in a very silly situation, maybe you're going to go, look, you can't just go into, I don't know, the mayor's house and just have some fun, right? There's going to be consequences. But that's the way you bring in consequences. So it was just me trying to work out, how am I going to politely railroad you and yet also give you the choice of going, what are you going to do, guys? Where are you going to go? So I had a plan here that you followed a third of it, and I'm fine with it because that's absolutely great. And I actually then felt happy with that when I realised that you didn't need to do what I had planned. And like I said, I very quickly turned it back from a very high intense plan to these are some ideas that you may want to do. I've even got here where one bit it says you either go to the pub or the shop, because I'm like, you could do either, and you also did neither, and that was also. But this is the point. This is the point, and there's other things. I'm keeping this close to my chest because obviously anything you didn't do in episode 1 that I planned you may be able to do in other episodes. So that's why I'm not saying other things. Sorry, viewers, but I am trying to keep it that as like, you know, I had full plan, and as I say, literally we got through a third of it, and I am totally okay with that because it was great fun, and it made me realise how much more. So this is what I got from Matt's point of view is I'm also had to be okay with coming up with incredible backstories of items, people, artifacts, places, and stuff like that, knowing I may never ever tell you it. Yeah. And going, it's fine, because it also means that this is why it has a significance, but why, if you don't catch on, absolutely fine. And it may come up, it may never. So these are the things that I found very interesting to make and create. And also, it gives me the challenge of going, when I do maybe need to go, okay, I've planned that this hint is going to tell you something. I'm going to find a way of you figuring it out. I'm going to figure it out. I don't know how that's going to be yet. And it's going to be very interesting because there's going to be interactions that I've planned in the future that could, I already know, go in very, very interesting ways. And you're just going to have to work. We're all going to have to work it out.
Do you know what? I'll throw a final thing out there. So I'm just looking through, like, just kind of assessing my own shit while we've been talking about this, Dave, and thinking about all this theoretical stuff.
I did also, similar to you, Bodhi, the one thing that was solely scripted to the letter was my intro, which was probably not a surprise to anyone who watched the Monster of the Week episode 1. I had it on a fucking teleprompter in front of my camera. I was like, this bit is going to be, and I'd practiced it, I'd done it before, I knew that it was going to be proper story, and then we were into it, and shit's going to get real, and we're all going to be giggling. But that was the only bit where I was like, I need to set the scene, know that it's going to be right, and get it done. As a point of fact, and it was probably very obvious to those as well, I did a cutaway scene at the end of the episode that was not scripted in any way, because it was, to me, less important. Even though it is important, if I missed bits, no one ever knew. And that's also come from my time as a theatre technician. I've never really been on stage, but I've often been there where people go, "Oh, we missed a cue." No one knew but us, and that's the point. Is again, as a DM, if you don't tell something, no one knows you didn't tell them.
Totally,
it's fine.
Do you know what? So, dude, I 100% agree. I was just, looking through this, I have a section of my notes that is called story. And I wrote basically down, like, cool, you're going to be at the diner, you're going to face Dastardly Dan, there's going to be some shit going on there, you guys will have a truck parked outside. Then I was like, the next bit is you're going to meet Laz, he's going to give you this, he's going to do that. Then, like, I have, like, the cargo reveal, which I even had to the point of, like, Danny would recognize the child because he's seen it from Maria's photos, like, and I had, like, that note there and things like that. But the crazy thing is, I wrote all this out of, like, this is kind of how I want it to go. But none of it happened in the order that I expected. None of it kind of happened in the way I expected. All the things that I had kind of predicted you guys would essentially do. Like, I had the guards recognizing Tom and Dave, but you guys hid in the back. So they never got a chance to recognize you guys at the block. And things like that. So, like, I had ideas and this idea. And what I was going to say is it's almost like source material. Like, I wrote this down as, like, a Harry Potter book or, like, a Game of Thrones book. And then I did exactly what I hate fucking people doing when they make content, and I made like a creative like decision to go a different route from that and go off of the source material kind of. And I think that's almost it. As long as you know all the shit in your head and you know the world and you know the place, it allows you then to be like, I can break my own rules now. Because I know all the ways that I could handle it, basically, because I know the shit that I've needed to prep
I think that's good. I mean, one thing there, buddy, is if you plan one direction, and not the boy band, but if you plan the team to go in one particular direction, what you've actually unintentionally done there is also done two paths. The one you've planned and the one you haven't. So first of all, you've done two. So every time you plan another one, you've done another one, which I think is great. Yeah. And also, the number of times that I realised during the session when I've gone, the amount of stuff I hadn't realised I've subconsciously thought about, and the second that also one of you guys asked me a question, and I suddenly go, holy crap, I already know the answer, because my brain has been whirring in the background for months for thinking, okay, this is how it's going to be. If you're going to say, right, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to very quickly probably figure out whether you can or can't. And I'm already going to know why. And actually, that's when I'm just like, oh, okay, it may not be a good answer. I'm also going to point out, it could be a terrible one. But the point is, you're able to make those snap decisions. And the weird thing is for anyone who does live in the corporate world and does have meetings, they'll all find, I don't know about the rest of you, I find an hour meeting like the same energy as 4 hours of work. It is incredible because you're working at 150% because you're always there and you're always talking about just the... you've always got to be available, and everyone wants that answer off you immediately. Well, that's what's happening in D&D, whether you're a player or the DM, more so for the DM. It's the same. So actually, I found it very similar, and that leads us back to Bodhi. Yes, the DM or GM hangover I do think is real, very much so. I basically spent, because obviously it was the first time I was doing it, I took basically the half day off before to make sure I had everything planned, and then the following day I honestly, completely, to a degree I was also ecstatic that I got past it. So I think I did ride off that energy, but there was definitely that feeling of, if I didn't do anything today, I'd probably be okay.
Yeah, for sure. I hope that me and Dave talking about that helps any new GMs or anything like that. Sorry.
You've definitely helped me confirm my decision that I will not DM. So that's thank you.
Well, again, let's just also point out that Sam Riegel basically went into DMing a one shot for Critical Role with literally like 2 hours of reading prior to it, and then just went with it, and it was funny. And so you probably can do it with way more. But anyway, yes. Totally. As we have said, we will now get back to our recap of Campaign 2 because we're all excited to chat about it. I do think that, however, Bode, you're going to have to leave us shortly.
I am going to have to dip in a couple of minutes, so I'll stick around, and then I'll strike a funny pose as I freeze, and you guys will just have to work out whether I'm frozen or not, and we'll go with that.
Nice.
Go on then, Danny. Right, come on then. As
we dip back into Campaign 2, I'll sort of summarise 3 episodes in one because it took us that fucking long to do it. Where we came across the Sin Spinner and all of the priests, which was like this big arachnid motherfucker, which did not help my arachnophobia. And then we discovered that actually we were dealing with Lilith and the disciples of Lilith, and Lilith's presence was in there because she was talking to Jewel, and it was essentially the culmination of us going back in to the cathedral to finish it off because we thought the town's guard ain't got enough power for this. We need to go in and finish it off. So we went back in afterwards because we defeated the Sin Spinner and left, and then we were like, we need to finish what we started. Really, went back in and cleared the rest of it out. Defeated all the disciples of Lilith. Because if you notice, we went in during that. We broke back in during the sex ceremony where there was this guy transforming. There was a lady demon. Going reverse cowgirl on this other dude. I'm sure that's how I remember it. It's probably not what happened in real life, Matt. I'm sorry, but she was riding him like a sea biscuit, and then we interrupted, and then we just I say we fucked him up. It took us. It was touch and go for a bit, but we ultimately fucked him up because if you remember Cavern, that's also where he found his gavel of justice.
Oh yes.
And I found my braces of. I keep saying it wrong. Braces of health. And all that shit, so it was definitely worth it.
Braziers of health. Just fucking wearing many bras. Layers of bras.
That's what they should be renamed as at this point. And then we jumped into our origin sessions after we did all of that. So after we literally raised it to the ground because it all collapsed on itself, and we met. That's when the angel saved us, isn't it? Seraphiel. Cavern's angels saved. Was
it then? No. He came later.
If it was, then it was the episode I wasn't there. So
I was going to say I wasn't there for Seraphiel either.
Seraphiel came to see us in the tavern. That's the first time that me as a player met.
Same.
So was that not?
Was it
that
his
not?
origin story, Danny?
Oh yeah, because episode 62, Truth and Justice, a winged figure is like an angel who bursts with radiant energy and the floor begins to crack, fire spurting out, and we have to leg it out of the building without closing the portal to make sure we're not caught in the collapse of the building.
Serafiel carried the emissary of Lilith
right.
through the portal in the final fight. There you go.
Thank you, Matt.
There we go.
Thank you, Matt. Fuck's sake.
See, you were making me think I was talking shit then, and I actually had it right.
No, you're right.
For a change.
You're totally right.
We're brilliant at this. We're brilliant at it.
It's a good job Matt was there. Thank you, Matt. I'm taking a little more.
But yes, do you know what? And it worked really, really well. That it actually gave us all gave the chance that all of us have these flashbacks to our origin stories, which was absolutely phenomenal.
That was a cool idea, mainly due to people's calendars, but it was cool of Matt to think of it. And I actually think we should do it for all characters in the future, where we do a bit of an origin story or a bit of a one-person episode.
I mean, again, it's one of those ones that, seriously, guys, behind the curtain, obviously we're scheduling every Monday, every week. We're trying to get this stuff out. We all have lives, so we've all got to work around it. And what's incredible is, to be honest, if you didn't know that, I think you probably would have gone, that's a really cool time to do each of these stories, because Jewel was was hit by one of these, it's succubus or incubus or whatever they are, and was hit by them, and that would have triggered something with her. Cavan obviously very much having his, and then the rest of you guys, it hit so incredibly well timed. That honestly, if it wasn't for that, we could have really covered it over. Succubus, thank you, Matt. I keep forgetting which one it is. Same with Devils and Demons. I can never remember them in D&D. Don't know why. I can't remember which one's which.
we should start campaign 3 with us doing 4 episodes one-on-one, or one of us playing like the protagonist and the others playing like NPCs, and doing origin story for each of the characters. And then episode 5 is actually like the first episode of like us all coming together, almost like at the end of each of our things we end up in the tavern. So like at the end of mine, it would be like, oh, I'm in the tavern, and then Danny like walks in at the end of his, and Dave walks in, and eventually it's like, oh, and that's how the campaign fucking starts. That would be a fucking sick way for us to start it.
What I liked the most about the origin stories, albeit I was only in one, other than my own, I liked playing a random character in your backstory. For example, with Edgius's, I was Calvin, whereas actually I was your nemesis Klein undercover, and it was quite cool just to be able to do that for one episode, just to be an NPC or a seemingly irrelevant character. Which
again, similarly to these mini-series, it's very good fun to just play someone completely new. So playing. So I played a character in Caverns, I played a character in Danny's, and it was just good fun to be able to just play them just for one session, just to get that extra get it out your system almost. Like I'm playing someone completely different.
And what I liked is with the origin stories, it allowed stuff. So for Lex, for example, it unlocked memories he had forgotten or repressed, and actually realised he'd been led a lie by Mechanus. And the magic I have is not the magic I started off with as a sorcerer. I was essentially, spoiler alert, I was a wild magic sorcerer. I then was going to be sacrificed to some gods. I got saved by going to Mechanus, and then that got suppressed down, stuffed it down, and put clockwork magic over the top. Which then means actually the balance I've been trying to achieve my whole life is the balance between logic and chaos, and that was the whole point of my origin story, which then came into play later when we was in the Feywild and we had to go through our trials when we were lost in the forest.
It linked back in, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Matt's a sneaky little bugger with that. Guys, I'm gonna have to bid you adieu, so I'll catch you later. I appreciate you.
Bodie, thank you very much for joining us for this recap. You've been amazing. Thank you for talking about Orbital Blues and sticking with us. We will endeavour to carry on and chat about the rest, but have a lovely evening.
Good luck, guys. I hope it all goes well, and I hope you get through it all. And I appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you next Monday.
Thanks ever so much. See you later.
Later. Bye.
And of course, he then left us on a really stupid.
Fucking brilliant.
Guys, for anyone on the podcast, go and see our socials. We will post out this screenshot. It's amazing. Oh Oh,
It
good,
looks like
wonderful.
he's just sat on an upside down stool and the leg's gone up his ass.
Yeah. Can't decide whether he's surprised or excited or a little bit of both.
That's brilliant.
That
We
is
should all do that whenever we leave anyway.
It's absolutely phenomenal every time we do that. That's amazing. Okay, so yeah, I mean, do we want to have a quick chat about the origins, or do we want to carry on with the main campaign? So. Yeah, carry on with them. Cool. Go for it.
A quick dip. So I've just done a little quick dip of mine. Essentially, I was in Mechanus for mine.
Yes.
You played Axel.
Yep.
Who was the one who actually lied to me and told me that I just wandered into there rather than they saved me from being sacrificed, and they changed the magic inside me.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. But then what Matt was sneaky with, he put stuff in our origin stories that could become relevant for the campaign going forward. So the whole suppressing of my chaos magic became relevant in a few episodes down the line when I was in the Feywild and I had to suppress it. There was then other gears in Mechanus that were like stepping up that could be. So there was a Asmodeus castle essentially in Mechanus that people didn't like. There was this glass one which I thought ended up being from the Frostveil, but it wasn't. But I think that's going to be relevant eventually. A big castle crystalline structure that nobody is allowed in. If you tell me I'm not allowed in, that's clearly relevant, or it's a big red herring. And then he was telling me about there was this math magician bloke and nobody's allowed to go see him either.
Daft question. So, and again, here we get into the conspiracy theories, Danny. The you say like a glass castle,
a glass spire. Yeah.
And thank you for the raid. Oi. Thank you for the raid from Roll Together. We are in a recap session. We're talking about our episodes, campaign 2 from 58 to 68 episodes of campaign 2. We have also had a quick chat about Orbital Blues and one of the mini-series that we've been doing as well. Do join us for our catch-up. Ask us any questions if you are willing. This is a perfect opportunity to chat with us because we are reading chat, having a look through, and, as I say, discussing where we are at. Back to what we were saying then, Danny. So the castle or tower, do you not maybe think that is connected to potentially the tower at the Crystalline Isles, if it is crystal? Because it is also somewhere that no one is allowed to get to. We got there because we were lucky, but you ain't allowed in.
Oh, because just reading my notes, it says the glass spire is new to Mechanus and it's growing out of a glassy gear. It's something to do with the past deity, but that was the only nugget I was given. Cool. But what did I unlock in the Crystalline Isle?
Chronomancy, yes. So,
but that was after that, technically, wasn't it?
After that for you, but doesn't mean that it wasn't that 30 years ago it was a released deity at the time of the Great Reckoning of Nylon returning. This is very fourth wall and extra above table stuff. But yeah, maybe. Maybe
because I did want to go in there during the campaign, but that's not how it worked out because we ended up having to fight some invaders and stuff, and I was never going to get a chance to go there.
No.
I feel like I might have to earmark it for future if I ever go back to Mechanus for whatever reason.
This is the one funny thing where it's like, we're either going to do that in a wrap-up session, or Matt will tie it into an integral of going, the only way to find this information is at this tower in Mechanus, and we're going to have to go there, and that's going to be a very mini-series.
I'll do it as a hypothesis and just make it up so we have to go there.
God damn right. Yeah, that'll be awesome as well.
But yeah. What I'm actually, because I wasn't a character in your origin story, nor have I actually watched it back, no offense. So actually, you telling me about your origin story, which I've kind of guessed from some of the stuff in the Feywild that happened. But what was the gist of your origin story?
The gist was, as we know, because we've already been back to the village was getting plagued by shadows. Those shadows, Jewel was initially interested in trying to see what they were. They were terrorising the village, and Jewel, along with with her closest friend, was interested in looking at it. However, unfortunately, in an interaction between one of these shadows, the friend got attacked, as we know, where it affects them weirdly and they become a recluse and it messes them up. She ended up running away from the shadows and falling into the quarry. The other interesting thing was this was around the possibility or the potential use of Mayonora's magic. We believe, potentially, off the information that I've seen from the origin stories, they were attracted to her almost magic she was not in control of. So it's almost a wild magic, but of the blood magic variety. So I know that that's a particular style, but it's almost like she was a wild magic sorcerer of blood magic. That's the best way I can describe it. She wasn't in control of her magic, and that's where it got quite exciting there. She was then, so Mayonora was then taken away, I think, by people from the Crystalline Isle, possibly by the more nefarious groups who we are hopefully going up against or looking after, and that she was taken away to hone her skills. Uneducated blood mage. There we go. I was close, but that's Matt, our DM, giving us the idea. So yes, she just didn't have control of her blood magic. Jewel then buggers off because she's trying to figure out how to resolve these. That's the main reason why she left, and the reason why she met up with the group, because she's looking for where's this coming from. Anyway, on her path, she met a gentleman of the Serpent's Cloak in one of the local cities, which we are hopefully going to go to soon, and helped them for a couple of weeks to try and steal something. They got double-crossed, and Jewel decided that she needs to go home. She's a little too young. However, unfortunately, what happens is she goes home, and in the midst, Mayonora's back, but is being chased by lots of bad stuff. And Mayonora knows that the only way that Jewel can be effectively saved from all of this is to wipe her memory of Mayonora, which is why Jewel didn't know of Mayonora. Because Mayonora did that.
I was just about to ask that question.
Jewel and
she's heavily involved in your
so Jewel and Mayonora not grew up together because Mayonora was her babysitter, so they grew up knowing each other. But yeah, and so actually wiped Jewel's memory with a memory spell. So hence, then she went back onto her path, and it was quite the interesting one. What we do
that explains
also know,
why your mum and dad were so close and protective of Mayonora then, when we were spouting shit about her.
Yeah, absolutely, because she, they were like, no, she's absolutely fine, and yeah, 100%. Mayonora was corrupted by this other group, and she managed to get away, and that's where she came back. So, yeah, she played quite the double act in Thalissa. But obviously realising that Jewel was on the case and realised that she had to run away again, hence that she did then leave. One thing that came up, I want to feel like it was at the end of my origin story. I believe this was this one because I was making a lot of faces at the end of it.
I think I've seen the epilogue bit of this.
Yeah. So the epilogue bit, for everyone who didn't see it, is whilst we're in this fight in the temple, a certain Vane Shadowthorn is back in Jewel's village and is resurrecting Mayonora from her grave because they have unfinished business. So our characters do not know that she is now back. But the problem is, the other thing that we also will not know is she's back against her will and very likely in the the clutches of the evildoers, and therefore not going to be our friend again.
I've just fucking twigged. At the end of the very last episode, episode 68, we're going to Stonebark first.
We are.
If she's just been resurrected in your village,
we might
it could absolutely
find
be chaos
out.
when we get there.
Either, well, maybe, or it was all done very secretly. Otherwise, otherwise it would get back to us. So, I will not play it in this way because I know. But it could be interesting if we do organically find ourselves back at the point where we find out that the grave is disturbed. I'm not going to play it like that because anyone who's played D&D, we don't want to fourth wall this stuff. We don't want to be... But if there is a time when maybe after all the shit that's gone down in the Feywild, that Jewel wants to go and see the grave of her best friend, she may come across it. And that's why it's the only way I'll do it. And yes, Matt, my mouthing in the background was what the actual shit was going on, and it may well have been what the shit biscuits. Because yeah, it was just what the hell was going on. I couldn't believe it. It absolutely blew me away when that epilogue was going on. It really did blow me away. And I'm so annoyed that we haven't been able to do anything about it yet. And I hope we do get a chance. We are going to Stonebark.
Jules' mum, she's the sort of person who would visit the grave to lay flowers, to keep it looking nice. And either it's been dug up and she can tell the dirt's been disturbed, or she would know something's off. She's not. And she'll report that back to us straight off.
I will keep it as a card ready, in our upcoming sessions. But I kind of, without putting any onus on Matt, I don't want to fourth wall it. So I feel like he may have to give me that in. Yeah. Of as you say, either Jules' mum goes or Jules' mum says, let's go and lay flowers as you're here, you might as well, and we come along and we find out that something's wrong.
Because it might not even be until Thaylissa, because we know Shadowthorn has been spotted in Thaylissa recently.
Yeah.
We go to Thaylissa and fucking Mayanora's there with him and we're like, what the actual fuck?
So another thing is we're saying that we know this information, but we may never find out until, as you say, that her grave is disturbed and that's also even funnier. Or more interesting anyway for us as you say, to be totally blindsided by, because we don't know when she's going to turn up. They may be sending her on a totally different mission. As you say, she may be in Thaylissa, which is going to be a right kickback to episode 1. And how cool is that? If it's so far in the future that we're then popping back.
If we hadn't had this episode, I wouldn't have remembered that. So it's been totally worth it now just for that.
No, it has been. It has been amazing.
And Matt's now going to leave it for another 40 episodes until we forget again, and then bring Mayanora back.
So anyway, that was Jules' origin story. We had a very quick chat about yours. Bodhi kind of...
I was in Bodhi's.
You were in Bodhi's.
Because I was essentially... it was when he was Edgius Jones, the detective, not the skull bard sorcerer that we see him now. He was just a detective solving cases. He'd got wind of what this Klein person was, who he was, and I came in as a budding detective apprentice / customer who wanted help solving murders similar to shadow murders and stuff. But I was actually Klein in disguise, trying to worm my way into him so then I could always be 2 steps ahead of him. And it culminated in I kept disappearing as they were getting closer to Klein. As we were getting closer to Klein, I kept disappearing. And then I obviously went off and killed his wife and kid. And it all culminated in a big battle where I was trying to set up one of these orrery type things, I think, off the top of my head. And then in my head, I was like, I had all of these big spells and I was just going to fuck him up because obviously, ultimately, we both die, or I think I kill him and he comes back as edgy as bones.
Yeah.
Right? I was rolling so shit in that session, he almost beat me.
Yeah.
So I was like, this isn't going to plan because he's actually getting the upper hand here. I've spaffed all my 5th level spells and they've missed and all that sort of stuff. And then he started to get the upper hand and sort of Matt, I think, had to kind of step in to sort of call it quits and go, big explosion, everyone's blacked out.
Yeah.
But then that became relevant in a session later on, because when we were in the Feywild, in the Frost Vale, when we were fighting Glimmermere and stuff, we were in a mirror version of that fight we had with Klein, as Klein and Edgius.
Very, very interesting.
Cool.
It was very clever, and again, well done, Matt, to clue that in, because I know that the Bodhi noticed that it was basically a mirror of it, and was like, this looks very similar. So yeah, very, very cool, and well done to that one. I did find that interesting that you were playing that, Danny, and I think of the bits that I've seen.
I mean, I gave him a clue. My name was Calvin. Calvin Klein. I always give people clues, and he did not pick up on it at all.
Fucking hilarious! That is absolutely brilliant. Well, I was also in Tom's, so in Caverns. I played Anthony Bretherington, and I kid you not, it would be the third. My apologies. I kid you not, he felt like a backup character. The second I was playing him, I'm like, I like this guy. This is cool. Now I'm absolutely fine with Matt killing him off. The story we knew, he again, all that prep session, he'd said, you kind of need to die in this one, and obviously, as we all know with Cavan's backstory, or certainly the backstory he's been talking about and everything, he needed that push, and it was that Anthony passed, and therefore how good it was that he was a great character. I'll hark back to what we were talking about before the break, to be honest. How very cool it was. But yeah, so much fun. If anyone does ever get to play, forgive me if I completely mess this up, but I'm pretty sure I was a Blade Singer wizard. My goodness me, that's one wizard I'd play properly, like long form. Like I know that wizards suck. Wizards and druids and clerics, but I kid you not, I'd play a blade slinger. So very, very cool. And just loved the session. Loved that session. It was really great. In essence, as one of the kids of the orphanage, he was a lovely guy, but he then needed to, figuring out that something was wrong, and with the help of Anthony, who became very quick friends, they knew something was wrong, but then they were going to go down and he was going to go through this ritual of coming of age, and Anthony was invited along because it was a bit like, well, what's going on here? And anyway, it did end up culminating that they were going to go through the same ritual that we found the kids back in the real campaign, the fast forwards. They were going to go through that same ritual, and so was Anthony. They were going to send me through. A fight ensued, and Cavan got everyone out but Anthony, and that was what sort of set him on the hard line. So very, very, very interesting. Very interesting backstory there. Really tied well into all, giving us a full information as to where we've all come from and why we're all the characters that we are, which I thought was very, very interesting indeed.
And then as we came back back into campaign 2 proper, believe it or not, we then got to the episode where we interrogated the assailant from the ball, which was about 30 episodes ago, which felt like fucking well, it wasn't in real life, but
no, but it does feel like it probably is like 2-3 months ago, when we literally went from one day to the following day in campaign time, where we went from a ball where we got absolutely wiped and stabbed afterwards to the following day going to interrogating, and so much happened in between. But yes, we went to go and interrogate him. That didn't go so well, did it, Danny?
I think it was a raving success. No, it didn't go very well. Essentially, he was working for Vayne Shadowthorn. He was at the ball where he killed one of the noble family's heirs, I suppose. We trapped him in the dungeon. Maynora trapped him in her cells. We went to Maynora's house to go interrogate him. He was there waiting for us. He didn't really give us much information. He he didn't know, for example, Shadowthorn was working with Klein until we told him, or he's just a really good liar because we believed him.
Mm-hmm.
The only good thing that probably came out of it was he communicates with Shadowthorn via a sending stone, which Jewel now has in her possession.
Correct.
We have used it to trick him, and he said, "Oh yeah, meet me in the usual place." We were like, "Shit!" But technically, we do still have that sending stone.
We were very, I do think, very clever and lucky to be able to play that card. We were also unlucky to not get all the information we wanted, i.e. where they were going to meet up.
Yeah, because he showed his fangs, turned into mist, and just disappeared. So actually, what transpired was he was waiting for us. He could have left at any time. He waited for us, goaded us, got a bit big for his brutes, sort of gloated, and then left.
Yeah. Which again, I think, so I can't remember whether this was prior to stream or not, but we were talking about, I think it was prior to the stream, we were talking about going to get Callum, which was then the next thing we did. Really wasn't a sensible decision. It didn't advance us in our storyline, and our path very much at all. And I know that we had a win in the temple, but I still don't think it felt like a win much. I think it felt like a win for Cavern, but for the rest of us, we were still sorely frustrated that we haven't gone any further, and it had been months. Like, again, even we'd lost so we lost Callum way back when. We then go to we then follow all these paths to Dryad's Gate. Then we're like, right, fuck this. We're going to leave and we're going to go and do this. On the way, we're going to go to Stonebark Village and then we're like, right, well, so that we get to finally figure that out. That was a win because we sorted out Stonebark Village. But then, we get to Union City and everything just goes shit south, and we're just like, look, I'm sorry, we all want Callum back. Let's get a group win that has nothing to do with anything else, so that's what we went to go and do. We went to go and get Callum back. We went to the Feywild, or more precisely to whether this is different region, but the Frost Vale, so a different section. I think I don't know what it's different somehow. But my God, was that a challenge? It was a complete mindfuck for our characters and possibly for the players as well.
You're right though. If we wanted, as us playing the characters, if we wanted to hurry things along, we didn't have to go get Callum. And actually, when we were RPing, when they asked us why do you want to save Callum, I think the Lord of Winter actually asked us that themselves. Yeah. We were like, for no other reason than you took him from us.
We want him back. We're asking for our ball back because we didn't kick it.
We kicked over the fence. Yeah. Essentially. We've grown attached to him as our characters have, and we're getting him back because it's the right thing to do, rather than actually progresses any story, like you said.
Yeah.
But little do we know, going into there would cost us way more than we thought, because not only did we, before we went and had our trials in the woods, we obviously came across Glimmermere, and we came across tests before we even met the Lord of Winter. So the woods were trying to kill us. But the main one was Glimmermere, where we tried to take her on, and actually Edgius got a bit big for his boots, tried to con a con man, made a deal with her, and ended up losing the memory of his only son, what he looks like, rather than that he has a son. He forgot what he looks like, what he sounds like.
Yeah.
Gone. And then that sent him into a spiral.
It was very well played by Bodhi. I have to say, and I hope that Bodhi is okay with this as well, the way in which Matt played the Fae and conned Bodhi/Edius was incredible, because the way it all ran, I saw it unfolding going, shit me, this is all going very south very quickly, and Bodhi plays the wonderful character of Edius, who doesn't shut the fuck up, and so was just ripe for the taking by Glimmermere. But what was so incredible is this innocent thing that Matt's put these things in our path before. There was the crone in the forest just before we got to Stonebark Village, where you had the opportunity to see our futures. And I don't think many, if any, of us took up on that.
No,
I can't remember.
I declined the offer politely.
But the point is, and it's great because we all know, well, not we all know, but we kind of get the understanding that this is a cool thing that could happen. Doesn't have to happen. You'll get something, and you also get to. There is an element of you will lose something, or there are consequences. That's the word I'm looking for. And we went into the conversation with Glimmermere again off the end of a fight where none of us had worked together well at all. It had all been four people having a singular fight, and understandably Edgius was very angry, just wanted to con Glimmermere, and totally got screwed over. Lost the memory, and he went on a spiral. So when we sat down and we were all fucked and he walked off into the woods, we all followed and all got lost in the mind fuck that was the forest. All to then have our own trials.
Yeah, what I really liked about the trials is, I think I said it on stream at the time, is we all had to come to terms with the bits of ourselves that we were denying, albeit Jewel was the only one who figured out it was all a ruse, but like Kevin came face to face with his own self-loathing in the form of an actual doppelganger of himself, and he literally had to embrace himself to sort of end it.
Yeah.
Edgius, I can't remember what Edgis's was now. I'll go back and have a look. But Lex's was, he's all about order now. Like I said, he's got clockwork magic on top of the wild magic, suppressing it down. I had to accept the fact that I am also chaos for it to stop eating away at the inside of me and coming out. And so I had to learn to control it and accept it.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. Ultimately achieving balance within myself. And then I can't remember what Lex's bloody Edgis's was now. That's going to bug me.
I'm furiously trying to remember. I'm sure it'll come around to us. So we'll get a hint as well while we do that one. So the interesting thing with Jewel is, yes, she saw through the lines, and the falsehoods quicker than anyone else. Two things that I would have said there. One, never would have even attempted to try and do that as that character if we hadn't been to Stonebark and got some closure. Okay,
yeah,
she would have been a wreck. However, I thought that I had the opportunity to say, right, she's a very observant individual now who started to understand that magic is around. And it was one of those ones that I just went, hang on a minute, this looks very familiar. Jules very recently had that origin story, which is basically exactly where they're at now, and it is, and of course, it started out where it was like, yes, this is horrible. This is exactly what I most fear, and this is exactly terrible. And then suddenly going, something's amiss, and that's what the only reason I even gave her that opportunity is her perception is phenomenal. That almost she could literally see through the magical glimmer that was in front of her, and that's exactly what she did. She ended up seeing straight through it. That even Callum was not Callum, because it didn't sound like Callum, and that's not right and not okay. So yeah, very, very interesting. So back to Edgius's. Yes, he had to come to terms with the horrors in his past and embracing it. That was again quite interesting, as we know with his origin story and with all that stuff. What he'd lost and all of that lot was very, very difficult. Especially the fact that still, once again, this was this fake Callum just goading not Edgius but all of us on in a very bad way. Very, very interesting. And again, it's one of those ones where it's like, for once, and I think only because of what had happened at Glimmermere, we all were fucking furious at the Lord of the Frostvale, whatever his name was, and all wanted to knock the shit out of him, but also went, hang on a minute, we know our place at this point, and we simply need to just come here, not necessarily cap in hand, but just, okay, we realise the situation and the status quo here, let's get what we came for.
And that led us to our actual meeting with the Lord of Winter, where we had to 3 rules of the Fae, right? Never say thank you, never make a deal, and never give him your name. We'd done all of these things.
Oh yeah, multiple times,
Within
and
30 seconds of being there.
also again, this was when it came back to Jewel being a younger person and still not quite with it. Was just constantly saying thank you and was like fuck, just having to keep shutting up.
But in our heads, because it was also an episode where it was just me and you, because Tom and Bodes couldn't make it, so their characters were frozen. And in our heads, me and you thought we'd made the best deal possible. We tried to get Callum's dad as well, because we thought him being a Horizon Walker could help us.
With everything that we had to our advantage and the responses we were getting from the Lord of Winter, I was with you. I thought we'd nailed it. And then we get back afterwards and they're like, well, that doesn't sound like it was a very good idea.
Yeah. I honestly, that knocked me down a peg or two, because I thought we'd fucking nailed it. And then we got back and they would go, well, did you think about this? Did you think about that? And I was like, fuck. But essentially, right, we made the original deal of, well, Callum made the original deal of a Feywild portal to get his dad back.
Yep.
We then we had to close the portal permanently because it was corrupted, which then meant Callum didn't get his dad back, and the Lord of Winter then kept Callum. So then we then tried to bargain by giving him a portal back for Callum, but as it turned out, because we were going to give him the portal, then close it when we left, but he actually said, if we close it, he'll kill us and Callum's dad. He'll basically he'll kill Callum and us probably. But the nugget of information he gave us, which is quite pivotal for the plot going forward, is because we're dealing with shadows and they're opening Shadowfell portals. For every Shadowfell portal that opens, it kind of weakens the Feywild because they're kind of opposing forces. So actually, by us opening that Feywild portal, it's kind of balanced the scales a little bit. But he kind of wants it to tip the other way now. But so we've kept that Feywild portal open in Kumaryu, guarded by fucking Mr. Miyagi in Kumaryu, who we suspect is a fucking dragon.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah, we do.
In disguise. So it's in safe hands. And then if we close Shadowfell portals, and then what do we make as a deal? We get Callum's father back if we close enough Shadowfell portals, was it?
Close enough Shadowfell portals to basically give the power back to the Lord of Winter's brother, which is Lord of the Shadows or whatever, I can't remember. But basically, to give him his power back, we will then get Callum's dad. Now, unfortunately, as far as I understand, and I could be wrong here because we don't know how deep this goes, kind of feel like that's we complete this campaign as far as I understand it and we get Callum's dad back. So it's kind of anticlimactic considering that Callum's dad would be very useful right now. But it's one of those things, and again, you don't get everything. You can't. So
that was it. Yeah, so the Lord of Winter wants us to stop the Shrouded Lord and close the Shadowfell portals so his brother can rise again, and then in return for that he'll give us Callum's dad. And we think the Shrouded Lord is working. Well, the Shrouded Lord is working with Klein and stuff.
Danny, question for you. In case this is something that we've already spoken about, apologies. With the Star Touch crystal that we have, is there a way that we can use it to locate specific portals?
We can locate specific portals using their frequencies. I suppose we can tap into them. So
basically, we need to be on a mission, as well as the mission we're currently on, to find something, a shard from the Shadowfell.
I have one.
So we've said that we need to, get rid of portals. Should we not be pinging that with the information you've got on the airship? Literally, like, is the one close enough? Yeah, right. Let's go close it. If not, this is a weak signal. Let's keep going.
That's what we haven't figured out to do. We've touted it as an idea.
Yeah.
What we haven't managed to do is if we're near a portal, like as in stupidly near, I could probably tweak the frequency.
Yeah.
But what we haven't done is been able to flip reverse or reverse engineer a portal key into a fucking radar system to locate what it will open. That's something
So,
we've had the idea of, but never tried to do.
So hopefully
properly
with the
in
good
game.
guys at the Crystalline Isle is something that we can probably hash that out.
Wizards are a good shout for that, especially with the all-seeing eye bloke. Yeah, that could be a
All-seeing
good
eye
shout.
bloke. Hopefully they're holding an artificer there. Right. No, actually there's an artificer on the ship. Yes?
Yes. Yes.
So
the engineer of the ship's artificer.
we take the artificer from the ship with the ship. Obviously, we go with the ship. Then we get the artificer to work with the wizards to get to make a make a Doctor Who signal tester that can cook an egg at 30 yards, and we see if it'll help
That
you
is
basically.
a good point. While we're flying to Stonebark, because the next bit, the last episode, which was last week, is we found the Ebon Mirth docked in Union City.
Yep.
Fucking pimped my ride to the nines now.
Absolutely. They
golden
went
brass
into
and
some
everything.
money. I would also point out that it's a very interesting thing for Jules. She's handling it quite well, but it is quite exciting. The last time that she was on, sort of the last time that she was on it, last major experience was she died on it. And I say died, I know she didn't. It was close, it was weird, it was sort of another thing. Her soul was nicked and nabbed and was about to be taken and ended up in the Astral Sea. Has been good for her, but let's still say it's not a harrowing experience for Jewel. So it's quite an interesting experience to be back on the Ebon Mirth. But yes, clearly in their escapades of smuggling extremely expensive weapons, they've come into some money.
And then, the Ebon Mirth was a crew that we used way back when we, like, first few episodes, wasn't it really, the first arc?
Yes.
They're going to take us to Stonebark because Edgius wants to get the sword from your dad. It's worth checking in on everyone to see how they are.
Might be worth if we can just pop in, yeah.
Then we're going to go to that place because you want to talk about to the Serpent's Cloak.
No, we're going to do Dryad's Gate. Possibly. I think I was thinking that maybe Dryad's Gate to get the ring. Very quickly. Then
that'll be a cutscene. Yep.
Quite possibly. I can't remember which way around we were going to do all of this, so forgive me if we did discuss it being in a different order. Then we were going to go down to the city south of Stonebark Village. It's on one of the islands. That's going to be a slightly longer experience, potentially, with all the things that may come up.
One, isn't it?
That's the Serpent's Cloak. And then again, we're saying all of this, guys, and I apologise if in mid-2025 we haven't made it there. But these are our plans moving forwards. We plan to do that one, and then yes, we hope that we will then head back to the Crystalline Isles, because that's basically then on the way to Thalyssa. But I think that we also have the plan that we need to be heading to Thalyssa. I think, however, there's no way we're not leaving the region without these major things still yet to do. Even though there's nothing that is directly pointing us towards the Crystalline Isles, there was what. Okay, but yes. And that's why what we're trying to do is make sure that we do gauge each thing. We had the idea that those caves... Was it caves under the Crystalline Isle?
Yes, there was an insurgent group within the Crystalline Isle called the Conclave, and they had tunnels underneath. But now we think...
Okay, but the crazy thing is we knew that while we were there the last time, so what's changed?
But now we know the people are active again, and Mayanora was in them because she said she used them. I think we said we want to go back and see if there's any clues. But in the meantime, we're also going to ask them about turning the portal key into something if we can't.
Yep.
And generally, I suppose, more help gathering another ally.
Yeah.
Because he's the all-seeing eye, although he can't see them, he can't see Klein and Shadowthorn. He might tell us about Mayanora, for example. But then Mara sent her spies because we got word that between here, Thalyssa, and Rosingdom, Vane Shadowthorn has operated in all of those areas. So Mara's spies, I don't know, spun their webs or whatever, and we found out that he has been spotted in Thalyssa more than anywhere else, which is where we first see him, actually underneath the temple, many, many moons ago. So actually, it's a harking back to that.
Yeah.
I suppose the main thing that culminated episode 68 was in Union City, we got granted freedom of the city.
Yeah.
We got our own headquarters, which is being built.
Yep.
Where Edge's old detective agency used to be.
Correct.
They're rebuilding the orphanages. The orphanage in the orphanage, not plural, in Paragon's name. And we are essentially fucking dons of the city in Union City now. We're pretty big deals.
So the interesting thing, I can't remember where we gauged this. I think it may have been that also the the Black Veil's influence may be able to reach Thalyssa to give some, some ease of passage for us. But I don't know whether we're getting much out of that. So we are still potentially walking into a city that has warrants out for us. And so it is going to be...
And that magistrate is also on the run.
Yeah. And so it could be a very interesting path, and it may well be that we seriously need to go in with us two in disguises, or heavily covered and cloaked, so that what we can do is get in and get out. The other two are fine. Other two are absolutely fine, and also Edgius can change himself anyway. But the point is that we need that coverage. Now, I wonder whether going to Eleanor... I mean, I can't see it going particularly well with the Serpent's Cloak, but let's hope that we can get something out of it. And if we can, and we talked about multiple things which we'll keep to one side until we get to those points for the viewers. But the one thing that we may be able to do, maybe it's one of them, is also again say, use their influence to actually then pass that message on to the Serpent's Cloak of that area and even of Thalyssa, and say, right, start spreading the word that we're not the bad guys.
Part of me's thinking, when we cleared our name in Zumkar, maybe, I can't remember whether we set wheels in motion to try and get word back to Thalyssa that we hadn't done it.
Yeah. Now, what that was what I was trying to do with the Serpent's Cloak, and I'll admit, Jewel, she was a young person, still travelling, and we were in, I believe wasn't that a cruise, and that totally fucked up. That is when she really did lose the favour of the Serpent's Cloak. We're really hoping that we can basically renew that one, and it may have to be a skullduggery, it may have to be honesty, it may have to be, look, let's try a clean slate here. Let's try giving you information. That's what your group works off. We're going to have to work it as we go. I hope that we can, maybe even as you say, we've done that at places of like More Stacy, Union City, Dryad's Gate. We can start saying, look, we're a presence. You might as well deal with that now. And we're a good presence, but we're not. We can also go, look, we're not against the Serpent's Cloak. Now, the only issue we don't know how much the Serpent's Cloak is in keeping with our enemy. We don't know that.
Yeah.
And I hope that they're not. I hope that they are more neutral to it. Maybe just getting coin out of it, out of the passage information. Maybe they're actually being openly disrupted by Klein and Shadowthorn.
Yep.
And hopefully, actually, they're actually getting a bit of a bugbear, a bit of a thorn in their side, and actually we can go, look, guys, we're actually trying. I know it didn't go well to start with, and we're just gonna have to work it out and see where it goes. I'm very excited as to where we're going to be going.
The tunnels underneath the Crystalline Isle actually lead to somewhere, and they're not a dead end.
Yes.
Either literally and plot wise.
That is going to be very interesting, and again, I'm not surprised if we spend a few episodes on that island.
It depends what happens in the caves, I suppose.
Yeah.
If we've really gone in the wrong direction, hopefully Matt would be like, oh, when we get there, the wizards go, oh yeah, we went and had a look at them, and there's fuck all down there, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And we just go, cool, see ya.
Exactly, and it's one of those ones that we're constantly evolving in the way that we're RPing and playing and stuff like that. And I think we trialed last session, and actually we found it worked really well. That we're going to cutscene a lot of not a lot of sections, but certain sections where we go, do you know what? This can be just abbreviated to we do this, and then let's get to the fun bit. However, there
We're
are
not
other
shopping
times,
3 hours.
shopping trips and all those ones. Don't get me wrong, we all love our RP, and I think sometimes that stuff happens well on the road. It happens well at 3 o'clock in the morning in game. Multiple other times. We're never going to stop that, but I think there are certain times when we're like, this is not going to progress our story much better, and we're just going to skip over it. We've been fairly good at that, to be anyway, but I think we're really starting to dial that in, what's good and so on and so forth. So, chat, if you've got any questions, let us know. Obviously, anyone who's on the recording, say on YouTube, please leave us a comment. We would love to be able to respond or answer those, whether reply to you or whether we're also going to be able to post stuff on socials, replies there, catch them up in the next recap. Anything like that would be great. Same with the podcast. Find us on socials. Leave a review if you can. If you've got any questions, then find one of the other platforms if you can't on the podcast, and obviously pose your question. We would love to know if you have any more interesting information. Also, shout out right now to the Discord. If you are interested, that's a great place for you to be able to have your own viewer theories. You can join in with some of our wacky ideas and anything else like that. It would be great to have you on the Discord. Links can hopefully be found at all the social sections on the website 100%. And all these other things. So I hope you can find a way to get in touch and get involved, because we hope that you're enjoying the world as much as we are. We are heavily invested, and we hope that you can be too. So, Danny, where else are we going to be going from here?
That was a great outro, to be fair, Dave. We have actually caught up, though.
We have indeed
We've
caught
done
up.
all the episodes.
We have. And we have even gone slightly ahead as to what we plan to do. Watch that get
and
derailed within
several
20 minutes into the next episode. So coming up is in a couple of weeks' time. Forgive me, I don't exactly know whether it's 2 or 3 weeks' time. We are going to be running our one-shot of Call of Cthulhu. So that is another little mini-series we're going to be running. We are all very, very psyched for that.
Although I will have just landed back from Greece relatively earlier on in the day, so I will be... If there's a chance for me to change and just be a zombie, because I will be a zombie.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have to get caffeined off my face for that one.
Yeah, you will. But I mean, all going to be very, very excited with that one. That's going to be a lot of fun. So I hope that you are all going to enjoy that one. Otherwise, we've got another load of scheduled things coming up that I'm sure you're going to be excited about. I'm just going to tease them as you're going to find them fun. And we're going to go from there. Thank you very much for tuning in with us. Like I said, any questions, pop on wherever you can, and we will be delighted to respond to you. Otherwise, I'm going to love you and leave you and say have a wonderful Monday night. We will see you next week.